Today's guest led his firm to becoming the largest, most well-recognized name in PI in the state of Iowa, and one of the top names in the country. And he did it the old-fashioned way. All right, and we're here with Tim Semelroth, the majority owner at RSH Legal, the largest PI and truck accident firm in Iowa. Welcome to the show, Tim.
Happy to be here. It's a long-time listener, so it's fun to finally be on.
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned, your firm is the largest PI firm in Iowa. What is your secret? Like, what is your competitive advantage, and why do PI clients and truck accident clients choose you?
Well, for my firm as a whole, our competitive advantage is that we are a one-stop shop for injury and disability victims in Iowa. We have 17 lawyers at 3 different offices around the state, and we have lawyers who specialize in everything from traditional personal injury to medical malpractice to nursing home abuse and neglect claims to workers' compensation to social security disability, even plaintiff's employment law cases. And so oftentimes an injury case involves multiple areas. And the great thing is that if somebody comes to me, my personal specialty is truck accident cases, and they were on the job when they got hit by the truck. I can walk across the hall to an expert in Iowa workers' compensation law, and I can make sure they're getting what they need. And if ultimately, as a result of their injuries, they are no longer able to work, we can loop in our in-house Social Security disability lawyer to tell them what their options are in that front as well.
Very cool. That's awesome. Yeah, to have that team there that can support you. Now, as we're talking before we hit record here, you have kind of niched down into this area over time, and you've really niched in 2 ways, right? PI and truck accidents, but also Iowa. I mean, that's part of your branding. You've made Iowa your thing. That's kind of what I've done as well. Not Iowa, but started as a more general practitioner in financial planning, and then, focused more and more specifically into legal and then to law firm owners. When did that start to happen for you? And I'm sure this is something that you would recommend to other law firm owners to really specialize, but just tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So I have been practicing in Iowa for 27 years, and I have tried just about every flavor of personal injury case you can imagine, everything from medical malpractice cases to dog bite cases to fall cases to car accident cases. And about 10 years ago, I took inventory of what I enjoyed doing most. And that was really digging deep into a case and really having the time to use tools like focus groups and expert witnesses who are best in class from around the country. And I also looked at the cases where I had the opportunity to use those tools. And I realized that it was in my truck accident cases. I had been handling truck accident cases, throughout my career. But I realized that, hey, the thing about truck accident cases, unfortunately, when you're dealing with an 80,000 pound vehicle, it's rarely a fender bender, right? I mean, somebody has been catastrophically injured, and you need to use all the tools that you have to help them get the best recovery possible. And I realized I got to use most of those tools, the things that I enjoyed doing, that made me passionate about practicing law in truck accident cases. And so what I started doing then is figuring out, okay, what if I just do truck accident cases? And I ended up started going to special programs around the country that truck accident lawyers put on. Ultimately, I started speaking at those conferences too. I then got board certified in truck accident law, and I'm still the only board certified truck accident lawyer in the state of Iowa. And what that has done is it has really energized my practice because I get to do what I enjoy most in the trial practice for
Yeah.
people who really need it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. You're kind of unique because you've built and scaled the practice, but you're still very involved you in the legal work. And a lot of law firm owners want to kind of get out of the legal work, do more of the operational work, the CEO level work, the business side of things, but you're still very involved in the legal aspect. You have other people that do kind of the business operations and that kind of thing. So you've really found the area that you really enjoy the most within the practice, right?
Yes, not just in the practice with truck accident cases, but also in the running of our business, our firm. I'm very lucky. I have three partners, and everybody has sort of identified their lane. So I have partners who like the HR aspects of running a firm, and so she takes care of that. I have a partner who really enjoys the finance side of things, and he focuses on that. And so it's really allowed me to focus uh, on rainmaking, making
Yeah.
sure that all of our lawyers have enough work to keep busy. And so just like with niching down to truck accident law, I've niched my management responsibilities to rainmaking, marketing, and that's great because I never wake up in the morning and say, "Gosh, I can't believe I have to do this." It's like I'm doing the work that gives me energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And what does rainmaking look like for you? We hear that term, but what is the actual concrete activity that you engage in that you find very successful?
Well, it means that I oversee our firm's marketing. And so we have a marketing director, we have a marketing assistant, but we have a very multifaceted marketing program. And really, the easiest way to think about it is where our cases come from. And so we have one bucket, they are referrals from other lawyers because we are specialists in injury and disability law, and so we have lawyers from around the state, but also around the country who send us cases, refer us cases to work on. Then we have our past clients. Our firm has been open for over 35 years, and so
Yeah.
we spend a lot of time trying to keep connection with our past clients, and so we get a lot of word of mouth referrals. And
Hmm.
then the final bucket, obviously, is the general marketing. And so
Yeah.
whether that is managing the website or the firm's social media or things like that. So it's that there are efforts that we are making every day in each of those three categories, just to remind people that, hey, if you have somebody who is injured or disabled in Iowa, you should call RSH Legal.
Yeah. Okay, so you have these three categories. What percentage of cases would you say comes from each of those three buckets?
So, and it's evolved over time, but traditionally about 25% of our firm's cases come from referrals from other lawyers. And then about 40 to 45% come from general marketing, and then the rest come from word of mouth referrals. So what that means is the majority of our firm's cases are referrals, either from other lawyers or past clients or people that know us in the community.
Yeah, okay. I love this. So did you hear that, listener? Like, we're talking with the biggest PI firm in Iowa, and the majority of their cases come from referrals and word of mouth still. And I love that you mentioned this because so many law firm owners think that they need to really dive heavily into digital ads and marketing, and that's important, but it's not I mean, you've got to hit these other buckets. You've got to get the low hanging fruit from referral marketing and word of mouth and past clients and things like that. And I've been harping on this over the last few months.
Well, so we track it very carefully. So what I'll tell you is our attorney referrals, they punch way above their weight in terms of revenue. Those are our
Sure.
most valuable cases by far.
Yeah.
Our word of mouth referrals are next most valuable, and then comes our marketing cases. And so, of
Yeah.
course, you want to be making sure that are spending just as much time, energy, and dollars on getting the attorney referrals and the past client referrals as you are
Yeah.
people off the street.
Big time, big time. Okay, let's shift gears here a little bit. This year we're talking about profitability and cash flow, and our theme is profit on purpose. PI firms often struggle with cash flow because it can come in such huge waves, right? And I know that you have somebody else that does a lot of the finance for the firm, but what can you tell us about any secrets you've learned or any really big lessons in how to manage the cash flow stability in a PI firm?
Sure. So the big lesson for us really starts with a history lesson. So when I was hired by the two lawyers who founded this firm 27 years ago, they were primarily known as a boutique plaintiff's medical malpractice firm. Okay.
Okay.
And so for the first 7 years that I practiced law, they just had me, you know, working on cases, filing cases, going to court, doing depositions, things like that. And, and that was, their reputation were those big cases. And so that was great when I was associate and I was just getting a paycheck. But
Yeah.
eventually, one of the founders went to become a judge. And so all of a sudden, I was thrust into more of a partnership role. And I realized that the way that they had the practice set up is it was, my friend Barry Doyle from Illinois likes to say, it's like the snake that ate the mouse. It's skinny, and then you get this big result, and then it gets skinny again.
Yeah.
And that is okay when you have made it financially, right? I mean, the founders, of this firm used to joke that, sometimes they would go, the whole first quarter without ever taking a paycheck from the firm. It's and so the thing is that I was, I had young kids
Yeah.
and my wife stayed home, and I'm just like, I don't want to live that way. And so
Right.
the the when my current partner Presley and I really took over leadership of the firm, we decided that we were going to diversify. And so we had always done uh, a car accident case, a workers' compensation case, but we had never really focused on letting people know that we did that and that we did it well. And so we decided that the key to dealing with that problem of big wins and then times when it didn't seem like checks were coming in was to diversify. And so that's why we have people who specialize in all these different areas, is because that is as one of my friends Ben Glass likes to say, the most dangerous number in business is one. And you don't want one source of cases, and you certainly don't want to be
Yeah.
doing just one type of case.
Makes a lot of sense. What a great way to pivot. Your firm has really evolved over time, and that's okay. And, a lot of law firm owners may need to hear that. It's okay to shift your practice area, to evolve, to adapt. Times are changing. So that's great. Um, let's talk a little bit about your you as a person, because I know you, right? And I know that, you've been very successful, but you've avoided a big trap that a lot of successful law firm owners fall into, which is the lifestyle creep and expansion of your lifestyle. You've been a diligent saver. What helped you, maintain that throughout your life?
Well, I mean, it starts with, I guess now you would call it geographic arbitrage, in the sense that, I live in Iowa, right? And,
Sure.
people ask me, where were you born? And I say, I made it all the way from one side of town to the other side of town in Cedar Rapids. And, my best friends, the guys I still play, sand volleyball with in the summer are, friends I met in high school. And so, uh, it's easier not to have that lifestyle creep if, you're living in a place like Cedar Rapids and, you have friends that you've had for decades and
Yeah.
the things that you like to do are the things that you've always liked to do. Now, I mean, definitely some things have changed, but I attribute a lot of it to the fact that you know I, my parents. I come from blue collar background. My dad worked in a factory. My mom was a teacher. They definitely uh, they definitely emphasized the importance of saving and that's something that was just second nature. And I mean, and like I said, it was helpful, because why did I didn't need a bigger house, I didn't need a fancier car. I'm hanging out with people that I've grown up with, and so I didn't need those things. I mean, we still do. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's like I took a great vacation to South Korea and Vietnam with two of my kids last summer, and we had a great time. But it's a lot of it comes down to the things that I like to do on a day to day basis. Really don't cost that much.
Yeah, that's great. And the reason I ask, for anyone listening, I speak to so many law firm owners who are your age, who've done well in their business, but they haven't accrued any savings outside of their law firm, and it's really tragic because they're in a place where they're really trying to play catch up, and it's easy to think when you're young, oh, I'll never retire, I love what I do, I'll do this indefinitely, but there comes a point in time where you're like, okay, I think I probably want out of this, you know.
Yeah, I mean it's so I'm 54 years old. I'm getting close to I can see when I've been 30 years in the career, and I like I said I have been able to design my practice so I work on the cases that I want to work on, and I work on the management things that I want to work on, and because we have recruited lawyers, I get to work with the people I want to work with, and so all that's great. But the reality is that, the things that I had the energy for, even 10 years ago, it takes a little bit more willpower now. It's just like
Yeah.
exercise, right? Like exercise that was easy, you'd play volleyball all Saturday and wake up on Sunday and be fine. Now it's a situation where I'm icing my shoulder after I play volleyball with playing a doubles league with my son, and so
Yeah.
I mean I think you have to be prepared for the idea that you probably won't always have the energy or the drive that you had in the first 25, 30 years of your practice.
Yeah. You also start to really understand the finiteness of life, and you have family, you have people you love that you want to spend more time with. There's more to life.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I tell people it's like because I'm very fortunate in the sense that uh, my wife stayed at home for most of the time that our kids were growing up. She took the laboring oar and getting them to all their activities and things like that. And but I feel like one of the nice things about practicing law is you can schedule things so you can coach your kids' teams, or you can go to practice and go to their games and things like that. But one of the things that I realized is that while I think I've done a good job as a parent, I'm probably in a lot of ways kind of a B minus friend, right? Because work can be all consuming, and
Mm.
so I'm rarely the one who's scheduling plans to get together and things like that. And I guess as you get older, like you said, you start realizing that relationships are the real riches of life, and at some point you need to start making time to tend to those relationships, your friends, your family, because time is finite.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so a little rapid fire questions for you here. Okay. Um, let's say I just started my PI firm. I'm getting good cases from referrals. I think I'm ready for that big billboard. What's your advice to me?
There are a lot of steps that I would take before the billboard. I mean, it's like, and don't get me wrong, like I have billboards, but that was not in the top 10 things that I was doing to get cases. And really the only reason I have billboards is because maybe about gosh, 6 or 7 years ago, a lawyer said to me, I asked him, like, why do you have billboards? And he said, because kids don't watch television anymore, and so I need to be someplace where they're going to see me. And so it's like, okay, that makes sense. And so we do some outdoor advertising, but I would say first step is if you're getting good cases from referrals, uh, treat those referral sources like royalty. I mean, you want to be connecting with them, not just when they're sending you cases, not just when you've got a check to give them, but you want to make sure that you are staying in touch with them so that you're never out of mind. And then the biggest tip that I suggest for all young lawyers is you have to keep a list of the people that you've done work for, because from the very beginning, because as you know, Darren, the hardest people to sell are people who don't know, like, and trust you already. And so
Yeah.
so it is key to take concrete steps to make sure that all those people who, hopefully, if you've represented them, they know you, they like you, they trust you. You just got to make sure they never forget you. And lawyers do not appreciate how quickly our clients forget us.
Yeah, yeah. I understand that one a lot. Yeah, it's interesting because you're so right. And I'll talk to somebody, and I'll mention what we do, and then I'll talk to them maybe a year later, and if they're busy and that we're not really connected very well, they'll be like, "What do you do again?" It's like it's so easy to forget. It's top of mind for us, but not necessarily for those we interact with. Okay, next question. If you were just starting out all over again, would you have a physical office space?
If I had to start my own firm, probably not right away. I mean, I think you have to figure out how you work best. And like
Yeah.
something I realized about myself during the COVID lockdown is that I did not work really well from home. I mean, one nice thing
Okay.
about owning the building is that even during lockdown, I could drive to my office and open the door and
Yeah.
and work. And so at first I would not buy it. You don't need a physical office space to do the work of a lawyer for the most part. And so I would use that time to figure out how you're most productive. Can you be productive from home? Do you need a space? When do your clients actually want to see you, and where? And then I would be very mindful about getting a space that suits you and suits what you need.
Makes a lot of sense. Okay, and how are you using AI in your practice these days?
Oh gosh, how do I not use it? I have I have spoken to lawyers on how to use AI at conferences and seminars 20 times in the last 24 months, and all around the country. I find that it is a fantastic summarizer. I find that it is a good issue spotter. I find that it's a great editor. I could go on and on, but here I'll show you my. This is my
The
Plod.
plot,
Yes,
yeah.
an AI video recorder, and I am shocked by how much I use it. I use it to record every discussion I have with anybody. It's like I tell them, it's like, hey, I want to focus on you. Do you mind if I put this on? They say no problem. And whether it's talking to my paralegal about work tasks or interviewing a witness, or even Darren, sometimes when I'm talking to you about when you're giving me advice about what sort of financial planning I should do, I'll record part of that, because then I've got it and I can put it into
Yeah.
my into my files, and I won't forget it.
Makes sense. Yeah, I have the plot as well, so that's very exciting. So we'll put that in the show notes. It's PLAUD. It's the plot note recorder, note pin, or something like that. We'll find that and link that for everybody. Okay, one last question for you, Tim. What book are you reading right now that you're really excited about?
Oh gosh. So a problem that I have is that I read, like, I have like six books that I'm looking at any one time, and
Nice.
so uh, actually uh, the newest book by the owner, or by the writer of, shoot, you recommended it to me. It's about the art of spending money. and
Oh, yes.
and
Um, Psychology of Money guy. We'll find his name. Yeah.
yes, Morgan
Morgan Housel. That's it. Yep.
Housel, yes.
Yep.
And so uh, because of a recommendation, I think you or Jim recommended that to me, and I've been listening to it, and it really provides good perspective about, like, what's the point of accumulating,
Yeah.
and are you spending money in a way that is consistent with your values, and in a way that's making your lives and the lives of the people that you love better.
Very cool. We'll put that in the show notes for everybody as well. Well, Tim, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been great talking with you. Any last things you want to share with our audience before we go?
Well, the last thing that I think I'd touch upon is, and you kind of alluded to it, is that I made the choice to stay Iowa based, and
Yeah.
a lot of my fellow trucking lawyers, they go where the cases are, and they're fantastic. They have national practices. Uh, that has never really been my thing. I love being from Iowa. I love knowing all the judges, and having tried cases in courthouses throughout the state. And so I think if you realize that about yourself, uh, you're not. Uh, you're not selling yourself short. I mean,
Yeah.
you can have a very uh, satisfying, exciting, rewarding practice wherever you call home. And so so often where it's like you got to be you got to be everywhere, and I'm happy just helping people that have problems here now.
I think that's part of your success. When I was first starting out as a financial advisor and looking at ways to niche and to market, one of the very tried and true methods is to pick a very small market, like your hometown, a small community, and just become very, very well known in that community. That can be very, very powerful. You have the advantage of having a lot more of that know, like, and trust factor in building those really long-term relationships. And you're a great example of how that's worked well.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for being on, Tim. It's been great talking with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Happy to do it and look forward to listening to your next podcast.
All right, a huge thank you to Tim Semelroth for joining us today. You can find Tim and his team at RSH Legal at fightingforfairness.com. And all the links, including the Plod AI recorder he mentioned and the Morgan Housel book, are waiting for you in the show notes. And this conversation really resonated with me because Tim and I have walked a very similar path, both starting broad and finding the power in going deep and narrow. I've seen it firsthand. Law firm owners who build real wealth aren't always the ones chasing every type of case or every market. They're the ones that get crystal clear on who they serve and go deep. And the reminder that relationships, referral sources, past clients, people in your corner are still the engine behind even the biggest firms. That is powerful. Here at the Lawyer Millionaire, we help law firm owners build the kind of wealth that gives you options. Whether that's stepping back someday, designing your practice around what you love, or simply knowing that all those hard years of work will actually translate into financial freedom. Because, like Tim said, the energy you have at 35 is not the same energy you have at 54. And the time to build that foundation is right now, friend. So, if today's conversation got you thinking about your own growth and wealth strategy, take the next step and book a call with me. The link is waiting for you in the show notes. Well, friend, that's it for today. And remember, if your law firm isn't building you wealth and freedom, what the hell are you doing? Can I get an amen, please? I'll see you next time.